My name is Natale Adgnot, and this is my show Chromaticism at Established Gallery in Brooklyn. The title of the show, Chromaticism, makes references to that term in music theory, which refers to the use of notes that are outside of a piece's key or scale. Musicians use this technique to evoke intense emotions such as grief or yearning by adding notes in between the white notes of a scale, essentially adding color. Of the three series in the show, the oldest is a series of small black and white drawings in an ongoing sketchbook that's been 7 years in the making. The sketches gave rise to a series of black and white sculptures starting in 2018. So for the last few years, I've been working exclusively in black and white, and this year, in the middle of the pandemic, I began to finally inject color into these abstract compositions. I named the new series Chromatics. My sketchbook right now has almost 700 entries. I started keeping a sketchbook again in 2013 when I was working at Christie's. I guess I was both inspired and a little bit dismayed by what I saw at Christie's, and I gave myself a challenge to keep a sketchbook for 30 days. And it's been 7 years, so something stuck. I was a graphic designer and I worked in fashion, and those two parts of how I've evolved aesthetically started to really take form. So with my black and white sketch journal as a starting point, I wanted to bring up the two-dimensional drawings to the third dimension. And my series of black and white sculptures was born, which I called Drawings in 3 Dimensions. The main concept behind Drawings in 3 Dimensions is that when you stand in front of a sculpture, until you've moved around it, you can actually get the feeling that you're looking at one of my sketches. It's only when you start to move around the piece that you recognize it for what it really is. It's actually sculptural, and there's a lot more nuance when you take the time to consider it from multiple perspectives. The natural progression for me was to add color. I think partly because my previous career was in design, I tend to have a really stark, almost austere approach to my work, and adding color was quite a large jump for me, actually a larger jump than going from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions. It's easier to control a composition when you limit the elements, and up until this point, I had limited my color palette to black and white and then gold with the enamel edges of the pieces, and sometimes a little bit of gray, but in that way, I was able to limit the variables and focus almost entirely on the formal composition of my work. But once I was comfortable with the idea of adding color, I didn't go halfway. I went directly to fluorescence, the brightest colors I could get my hands on. And in a way, I almost feel like it was in defiance of the grimness of 2020. I've always been a fan of the greats such as Yves Klein, Sol LeWitt, the people who tended to use color in a dramatic and straightforward way. I'm not blending color a whole lot here. And I've chosen 3 almost primary colors as the basis for my series and added 1 somewhat neutral color to balance it out. The choice of ultramarine blue, or Le Bleu Clin in French, Yves Klein blue, was an obvious choice. Fluorescent red is one of those colors that you either love or you hate, but it was really what I felt I needed to put out there this year. Same for the reflex yellow, which is also tennis ball yellow. The brightest yellow, it almost tends to green. And the fourth color is a color that's called atomic tangerine on the internet, and so I shortened it to just atomic. I decided to take two sort of opposite approaches with the color. I either wanted it to be the most frank, bold use of color possible, which is the case with the pieces that have backgrounds in one of the four colors, or I wanted the color to be something that the viewer has to discover by moving around the piece. The largest piece in this show, Reflex Dispersion, actually the largest piece in any of these series so far, probably is the best example of a merging of all three series, in that the individual pieces represent discrete drawings in and of themselves. And then when you stand in front of the panel, you get the same feeling of just lines on a white page as you do when you look at the drawings in 3D, the black and white sculptures that I did prior to Chromatics. And then the third experience as you look at these pieces, or this piece in particular, is discovering the color that's at the base of each piece as it joins the substrate. This show has given me the occasion to finally see all of my series together. Seeing everything together in dialogue with each other, the different series side by side, really clarifies for me the trajectory of my work, and I'm looking forward to finding new ways to use color.